Yo! It's Floppish back, and today, I will be covering the ultimate Buddha setup. In my opinion, Buddha is the most versatile fruit in the game, and with this setup, it will be even stronger. This setup can be used to quick drop kids in PvP, grind efficiently, do raids efficiently, and to kill bosses and raid bosses as efficiently as possible. Other than that, let's move on to the first step in getting the perfect Buddha setup. Stats are one of the most important parts of the setup. You'll need to put your stats on the right things, in order to deal as much damage as possible and as efficiently as possible. Here's what you should do. Firstly, you should reset your stats. You can use a stat reset code to help with it. Next, you should put your stats on melee, for energy and damage dealing, and defense stats, for extra health and survivability. And you should focus on maxing out those stats. Once you have your melee and defense stats maxed out, you should put the rest on the sword stat. That is basically everything that you need in terms of stats. These stats would be useless if we didn't have anything to use them with. That's why we should move on to the next part. You will be using your fighting style as your main damage dealers, because every fighting style in the game scales with the melee stat. Which basically means that, the higher the melee stat the more damage your fighting style does, and most Buddha users will have the melee stat high, due to its extra stamina. But we shall move on to what fighting styles you should get. You should either use the Sanguine Art fighting style, or the Sharkman Karate fighting style. The Sanguine Art fighting style is best used for PvP, while the Sharkman Karate is more versatile and used more for grinding, raids and boss fights. It's still pretty good for PvP, just not as good as Sanguine Art. Now I will be showing you how to unlock the Sharkman Karate fighting style, because it's by far the easiest one and the most beginner-friendly one to get. Firstly, you will need to buy the Water Kung Fu fighting style, from the Water Kung Fu teacher NPC. He is located at the Hot and Cold Island if you are in the Second Sea. Next you will need to grind 400 mastery on the Water Kung Fu fighting style. After that you will have to kill the Tidekeeper boss at the Forgotten Island. Once you kill the boss, he will have a chance to drop the water key. If you are able to get it, talk to Digrok, the Sharkman NPC, and buy the Sharkman Karate fighting style. You will need 2.5 million money, and 5,000 fragments to buy the fighting style. Now that is all for the fighting styles, let's move on to the next part. Using the right race, can be a huge bonus for Buddha users. If you're a Buddha user, the right race has got to be the Ghoul race. The Ghoul race's main function is to give the player life leech. Basically when you hit a player with your fighting style, you will gain health from it. Which is super OP for a Buddha user, because most Buddha users use their fighting style to spam hit their opponents. And another bonus of the Ghoul race, is you will get 50% extra speed during night time. But now, I will show you how to unlock and use the Ghoul race. Firstly, you will need to be over level 1000. Next you will need 100 ectoplasm, which can be obtained by killing NPCs in the cursed ship. After that you will need to get the Hellfire Torch, which can be dropped after killing the cursed Captain Raid boss. After you get the torch, just talk to the Experiment NPC and switch your race to Ghoul. In order to get the life leech buff, you must upgrade your race to V2. In order to upgrade your race to V2, you will need talk to the Alchemist NPC. And you will have to find 3 different color flowers. But this video would take too long if I explained it all. You can look up a tutorial on YouTube on how to get all 3 flowers. After you upgrade it to V2, you can upgrade it to V3, and V4 eventually, which will make the Ghoul race even stronger, and in turn, your setup will be much stronger. But let's move on to the next part. The easiest way to awaken Buddha, is by getting a carry from your friends, or either by buying a carry from someone. For this method, you will need a high value fruit, such as Buddha, Portal, or Rumble. And you will also need to use Discord. And you will have to join the official Blox fruit server. Next, you will go to the #raid callouts channel and look for someone who you think is trustworthy, preferably someone with a lot of vouchers. Next you will DM them, ask for a Buddha raid carry, and trade them your fruit first. Then they will do the Buddha raid, and you can just sit back and relax until the raid is finished. Then you can just awaken your fruit and you are basically done. Keep in mind, You will only need the Buddha transformation, all of the other Buddha moves are basically useless. The awakened transformation will have a much better range and better defense, compared to the unawakened transformation. But that is all for this part, let's move on to the next part. Buddha can work well with many accessories. But, I recommend you either use the Hunter Cape, or the Swan Glasses. These two accessories are by far the best for Buddha users. But we'll start off with the Swan Glasses. The Swan Glasses can give you 8% defense against all types of damage, 8% damage, 25% extra movement speed, and a 8% reduction to all cooldowns. Now we'll move on to the Hunter Cape. The Hunter Cape will give you 10% extra damage, while using a sword, gun, and melee, 80% extra movement speed, and 750 extra health. You can choose one of the accessories that you prefer the most. But both have really good bonuses. Now we'll move on to the last part of the setup. The sword can be used to quick drop enemies in a fight. The best sword for this is the Cursed Dual Katana Sword. You should be using the moves of this sword to deal tons of damage in a fight. You can expect to deal 6,000 to 8,000 damage in an instant, with both moves of the CDK sword. If you don't have the CDK, you can use the Shark Anchor and True Triple Katana, as good alternatives instead. But yeah, that is the last thing you need to complete the ultimate Buddha setup. That is the end of this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment something that you found useful, or you can comment something like hi. Other than that, Floppish out boys.